Welcome to Being Anxiety Free. My name is Emma Upturn and I'm here to spill all the tea on what it actually means to be anxiety free. To be able to recognise the different parts of the conscious, overthinking human brain that's always seeking perfectionism and to be able to choose out of those thoughts and patterns. So let's dive into today's episode where I spill all the tea on what it actually really means to be able to live anxiety free. Cheers. Today is episode 24. I welcome you, and I've had this moment this morning that I just want to share what being anxiety free actually means. I think the perfectionist version of me a couple of years ago, being presented with the notion, the idea of being anxiety free, I think I'd have jumped onto that like a ravenous person that had never eaten. Anxiety dictated my life so intensely that I'd have just been like, what is this? And I don't want it to be that. What being anxiety free for me means is I have this heightened awareness. That's what I'm going for. I have a brain that wants to be anxious. I have a brain that led with anxiety and worry and fear for my entire life. And what living my life now means when I strip it down, which I'm always looking to do, I am always looking to refine and be clearer about how I can communicate, how I can understand, how can I can articulate this work. It's the awareness, the knowledge that it's there. My brain is still an absolute knob. There's no two ways about it. Like, it's mental. When I tell my husband what's going around my head, sometimes he's like, what? I'm like, I know. I didn't know that. I didn't have awareness of it for my whole life. So I was just living my life thinking that was regular. And then I'd kind of try and express it to people and people would be like, no, that's uncomfortable. We don't want that. Like, don't speak about that. And so I learned to suppress what all of my magic is, because our magic lies in our madness. All of that magic of everything that I am, like, I learned to suppress the levels of anxiety that gives you when like everything is wrong and you're told so many times it's wrong. Like, that is so anxiety inducing, because what it forces us to do is put this mask on to the world. It forces us to show up as this version that we think it wants from us. It's like, oh, is life going to be easier for me if I show up as this version of me? And a lot of the time the world's like, yes, that's better, thank you. And you're like, okay, do more of that, do more of that. My brain still wants to go there. I still want to get it perfect. I still want to suppress those parts of me that are just meant to be wild and out there in the world. That's not what an anxiety-free life for me. If I didn't have that, like, I mean, I think life would be simpler, way more chill. But that's just who I am. That's the gift of who I am. Like, I am that. And anxiety free for me means I can recognize those three here that just torment me, that just go out of their way to try and torment me for my whole life. I know their names. I've got their number. I'm very aware of them. That gives me this feeling of power like nothing else. It doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means that I hear them now, like green bulb today. I am on his ass. I will not go throughout my day not bringing awareness, being, oh, you're being a knob with a massive gob who just won't stop overthinking everything, like wants to know the ultimate outcome. Or like, he's there. He's always there. He's always been there. It's just I didn't know he was there for so long, and I just tried to pretend that he wasn't, and I tried to suppress him, and I tried to avoid him. And tried to, when he was thinking things that made me feel uncomfortable, try and like hide it somewhere. Like, but that never works. He's there. I get to befriend the beast that is Bob. I get to notice that he's there, always trying to help me out. God bless you. It doesn't work, but he's there, always trying to overthink each situation. So eventually we get to the point that it makes sense, and then we can just move forward with our life. That moment never comes. We're humans. We're humans on a spinning sphere. That moment never comes of like, oh, this makes sense now, let's do this. It's like, no, that doesn't exist. What exists is the fact that it's very unknown, and he hates that. He hates the unknown more than anything. It's very unknown, but I have this heightened awareness being like, Bob, babes, I appreciate the shift you're trying to run, but I don't want my life to go that way anymore. Do you hear me? And he's like, but it seems scary, like this new way that you're living your life of freedom, where you just do whatever you want and you just handle whatever consequences, mainly good. This is the brilliance of it. Mainly good consequences come from doing things differently. But he's freaking out. I know he's going to freak out. I'm very aware that his number one go-to is to freak out all of the time. I'm ready for him. That's the life of freedom that I want, that we can live, that I cannot believe that I get to live, but I do. And it's not that they're not there. It's not that I don't have a human brain anymore. It's not that I don't have a conscious brain anymore. That would be like tapping out of this human experience, and that's not possible. And even though the conscious brain is like, oh, yeah, we like that. We just like it all to be easy and simple all of the time. Simple all of the time. It's like, that is not this human experience. And we don't get to tap out of it, even though we might feel like we'd like to sometimes. We don't. That is not the contract we signed here. We signed up for this, and it's a lot. And once we get to know the nuances of our brain, and what I love is I can identify those different parts of my brain now. When Bob is on, when I'm being triggered, and when the toad is just tempting me with his dopamine, and I'm like, not today, not today, toad. Or when Francis is just being mean to me, because I have a naturally mean brain. My brain wants to be really harsh on me a lot of the time. I can notice these things. And the reason that I'm obsessed with this piggyback sensory hack element that I share in this work here with you in the podcast and lives on Insta is because I want us to know that we can't change our thoughts with thoughts. That's literally like trying to plait fog, and it's so frustrating and it's so hard. And I know so many people, me included, have sat just trying to think our way through it. Bob loves it when it's like, let's just think our way through this problem, and then when we settle, then it's like that never ever happens. But so much of our world is geared towards thinking our way through. When we come to peace with the fact that we're never going to be able to think this through, we're never going to be able to understand it, we start to work in this space, the unconscious space, where we actually change. Now, when I look at my brain, I'm pretty sure if I had a brain scan a couple of years ago, because I love nerding out on this stuff. If I had a brain scan a couple of years ago and I had a brain scan now, it would look very, very, very different. I was in beta brainwaves almost all of the time. That's where Bob is, in the thoughts, figuring things out in the 3D. I was in beta brainwaves all the time. I spend a lot of my time now, where is she? There she is, in the alpha alpaca brainwaves, the more like meditative states. I spend a lot more of my life there, but that does not mean that these guys have gone. No, it doesn't. I get to access those unconscious spaces when I'm using this piggyback sensory hack system. When I'm going through my life, like today is green for Bob. So I'm wearing greens. I have my mints here. I will be sucking on these guys throughout the course of the day. Why? Because I'm reminding myself over and over again, where's your Bob? Where's your Bob? Where's your Bob? Where's your Bob? It should be a game show, shouldn't it? He's everywhere all of the time. When I look in the mirror and I see my green hat, I'm like, where's my Bob? My plants around me, where's my Bob? The mints, when I put chewing gum in or I put a mint in, I'm like, where's my Bob? And I'm heightening this awareness around him. And that doesn't mean I'm saying stop the bad thoughts, stop the worrying, stop the overthinking. If we try and just make these three elements of the conscious brain just stop, they rebel, and it's horrible. Maybe you've done it, like gone cold turkey, like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. It comes back stronger, and it just makes you feel even more shit about yourself. You're like, I'm trying to do something different. If we try and just actively repel it, it comes back even harder. When we're just constantly being like, oh, that's my Bob, like what? And we choose the power of choice, awakening that inner power that comes from the subconscious through the unconscious and then into the brain. Then it gets to feel easy. I'm obsessed with the word easy only because I didn't expect life could feel easy for me. My life was hard. Everything was a challenge. Things came up and it would be like, I'm not into that anymore. Why? Because I choose not to. Like, I hear my Bob. I hear him off and out and round and about trying to make my life difficult. And I realized that there was a choice point moment for me. And I'm like, am I going to choose to spiral with that monkey? Or am I going to choose power? And there's different things that we can do in different circumstances, which I'm so open and happy to share. If you want to share your experiences, then I will do independent podcast episodes on what that looks like, because we get to feel like this. Whatever the energy is inside us, Bob quite often is quite a spiraling energy when you feel it and track it in your body. But it can be different for different circumstances in different ways. He has very different ways of morphing into things. But when we become aware of him, it's like, I have the power to choose. And so often in moments, especially when it's a new nuance, a new Bob, a new Toad, a new Francis, when it's something new, we're heightening our awareness and we go into a new paradigm shift, because there's guaranteed to be new nuances in a new paradigm, because it's at every level. Like, oh, this is new. This is a different kind of Bob. I don't know what to do with him. So often I'm like, I know it's you, but I've got no idea what to do with you. That's okay. In fact, I love those moments. I'm such a psychopath now. I'm like, oh, that's Bob. Oh my God. I don't even know where to start. He is just ravaging me. I'm like, okay, good. This means we've hit something new. This means we've hit something. This is really my way. I call them code blockers. We know what we're here to do. We know who we're here to be. We know what we're here to do. 100%, no question. I'd vaguely kind of dance around that, and now I own it. Like, I know it for me. I know it for the people that I work with. 100%. We're never going to know it ultimately at the fullest scale. It's this unraveling. It's like a present that we just keep on opening. We know, and it's written into the DNA of our existence. Now, there are code blockers that these three love. Keeping all the put blockers in the way of our codes. Our job is to release those code blockers so that who we are gets to flow through from that subconscious out through the narwhal effect, out through the conscious brain into the world. That's how our work gets out into the world. That's how we serve out into the world. So if my Bob is going wild about something and he's obsessed with it and he's holding on to it and it feels really big and it feels really scary and it's that heightened emotion around it, I'm such a psychopath. I'm like, good. Because you know what this means? It means there is a big blocker that I have not been seeing and it's in the way, and Bob's freaking out. He's going nuclear about this, so I'm going to see. And my favourite words in these moments are, I don't know. I literally stand there when I see him. I take my shoes and socks off, and if I'll go out in the garden quite often, I'll stand there, especially with my spine up against a tree. Oh my God, I can feel the energy as I'm saying it. And I'll go, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know. But I'm open to receiving. I'm open to receiving. I'm open to seeing this code blocker as something different. Show me. Show me, and this is the bit. And I will do my part. Now, the universe has seen me go. It knows. It's like, oh yeah, she'll do it. She's not messy. Hey, I will do anything to eradicate a code blocker. If I hear Bob is loud and I see that something's in my way and I don't know what the hell to do with it, I'm like, I'll do my part. Show me. And it doesn't come in this like, okay, well, here's your book and here's it doesn't work like that. We're humans. So all these nuances in life, but when we have these stimulants constantly communicating with us, we're going into it again and again and again and again. And then one day we're like, oh my God, Bob, you absolute knob. It's this. And it's so easy and so clear and so obvious. It's this moment of like, duh. Oh, I'm just not going to do that anymore. And it isn't this like, oh God, I'm such a horrible person. Like, I don't want to be doing this anymore, but I keep doing it. It's just like, oh, well, that's been fucking me up. I'm not going to do that now. And it feels easy. Like, a beautiful example in my life was alcohol. I knew I shouldn't be drinking so much alcohol. I was buying boxes of wine. And I knew it. I kept saying, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be drinking so much. I know it's detrimental to my mental health, my physical health, my life, my children's life. Like, I don't want to be doing this. And yet I still was. Like, I'd be like, right, tonight's the night I'm not drinking. And I drink and I just feel horrible. Well, then I moved to a point where I was like, oh my God, I just don't want to do that anymore. And it was easy. It gets to be easy when we're constantly using this environment around us, using the sensory experience that we're living out as this line of communication to inspire us to navigate our conscious brain differently. So being anxiety free is not that you just have a brain that's on your side all of the time, all of a sudden, and everything's rosy. It's not. That would be rubbish. I think that would be a really boring human experience. I'm not here for that. What I want opportunities to awaken that power that lies inside us all. It's the same power. And it's so lit. It's amazing. I want opportunities where I see my conscious brain is just going against me. And all of that way of being that I've been for 30 plus years is going, let's just go back to that. so much simpler. Let's just go back to the emotional safe house and let's lock the door and we'll just sit there and wait for life to, like, I want it, like, my brain wants me to go back there all of the time. What I do with my life now is freaking out 99% of the time. But the difference is I notice and I say, not on my watch, Satan, I'm done. That is what a life of being anxiety free feels like for me. And that makes me feel powerful. And the level of insane that my brain is, that it wants to go back to that neurotic, anxious, overthinking, people-pleasing way of being, and I choose not to, I feel like the most powerful human being on this planet. And what a space to be able to work from. If your brain is lit like mine and you choose to not listen without going up against it and it just coming back at you tenfold, you use a sensory experience, the piggyback hack system, to remind you again and again, like, it doesn't need to be that way. I wonder if there's a different way. Help me, I want to do this differently. I want to see it differently. I'll do my part. If there's that energy to it, we shift paradigms and we shift them really bloody quickly as well. So this is our reminder to wear our mints today. Mints greens. Get your mints out. My little mints in my pack. So freaking cute, look. The little hearts. Can you see? Oh. So cute. So I'm going to be wearing my mints today. Looking out for Bob with a massive gob. He's such a knob. And awakening that power. Thank you for being here, witch loves.